Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. I'm going to show off the latest addition to my collection of mini arcade machines. And this one's got a little bit of a 70s vibe. I know 1942 came out in the 80s, but I love that wood grain. And we got a nice 70s carpet down here. And Space Invaders, of course. This is the awesome My Arcade one with the reflective screen, so you can actually play the game the proper way. But my latest addition to these awesome groovy machines of yesteryear is this. My new little arcade machine, Space Is Not Invading. This is one that I made myself. It's actually been a little bit of a project, and I think it turned out pretty good. It's a wood cabinet, and I thought, well, I want to go with something 70s, which we've got here. And a little control panel, kind of a paddle game in a way. You see, it's a combination of Breakout and Space Invaders. You've got the little paddle here, some controls, even a little place to put your quarters in. I just thought, yeah, I want to make a machine. The reason why is inside there is an iPod Touch that was basically collecting dust. It was a gift from my sister to my mom, and she didn't end up using it. It's got a crack in it, but I just thought, you know what? I could make use of that. And I made it, and it's a nice addition, a 70s addition to my arcade lineup. So let me show you all that was involved in putting this together. Space Is Not Invading. My initial question with this whole project is what's going to be driving it? And by pure luck, by pure happenstance, my sister provided exactly that answer. She gave my mother this old iPod Touch of hers. You can see it's got like a crack in the screen. Can you make that out? Not really. Sort of. You can make out this like a... It's cracked along the edge there. Can you make that out? Yeah, like it's got a split. It's very old. The button has got its own problems, and my mother didn't end up really using it that much. She listened to the occasional podcast, but then just thought, nah, it's sort of collecting dust. Do you want it? And I thought, well, I might be able to make something work with that. And lo and behold, this little project. Now, initially, what I was using this for, if I can find it, was just a clock app. I would use this clock app, which definitely shows off that crack on the screen there. And this is all fine and good, except for randomly once in a while. Like, this worked great as a clock. But randomly once in a while, Apple wants you to sign into your Apple account on these devices. And I just thought that is really annoying, because if I turn in the middle of the night and try to see what time it is, and I've got that banner sitting there, that really ruins the purpose of this as a clock. Now, you can defeat that by signing out of the device, but I just thought, maybe I've got alternatives. I do actually have a new idea for a clock for the bedside table coming up, so I don't need this as a clock anymore. But I just thought, well, maybe I can throw an old game on here, and given it's a screen, this will work. And lo and behold, I tried a few. Now, there were some on here that I really liked the look of. There was this boxing one, but unfortunately, I don't think this one works very well. In fact, this one doesn't work at all. I've been sitting here for several seconds waiting for it to load, so that's no good. It was pretty cool, though. There's others that look like, I don't know, we got one here that actually looks like an old arcade cabinet. That was kind of neat, but I just thought, well, it deserves more of a modern-looking container around it. So, you know, maybe someday that could work as like another, if I find another little arcade cabinet, I could stick this in and that would kind of look like one. What is that, Mech Wings? Yeah, check that one out if you're interested in it. And then I came across this, Space Is Not Invading. And I thought, oh, that's got a neat attract screen. That's actually kind of a very cool, very rudimentary looking Pong-like experience. And it does have some neat ideas. Like if you press the button, you can actually play Pong on it. So for people who want to be able to reach into this thing, they can use this as a Pong game. That's pretty cool. Or there's breakout type games. You can play that. again, just reach in with your finger and you'll be able to play a breakout game. Or the full-on Space Is Not Invading, which is this weird kind of a Space Invaders, kind of a breakout game. And again, I think that looks really, really cool. That would work well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick this inside and make it all work. But I kind of need a box for the whole thing to work, and I want to have something that looks Pong-like. So to begin with, the cabinet itself. I found this at a local thrift store for like $3. I couldn't even figure out what the heck is this. I think it's an ashtray. I think in days of yore, you'd stick your cigarettes there, I guess, and then, you know, dab them out in the grill here. You know, this type of thing. You just put out your cigarette and leave it resting there. I'm guessing that's what this thing is, but don't know for sure. Regardless, it's the perfect size and shape, because what I'm planning to do is take off the grill, and this box here for the ashes, I suppose, just pops out of here. And now I have something that looks like what the end product is that you already know. A bit of an arcade cabinet. So, you know, it's about 8 inches tall. I think that'll fit nicely with the New Wave Toys stuff. And yeah, I have further plans, but the next thing was going to be, okay, well, you've got a box for the screen to go into. You've got a nice little arcade-ish cabinet. What are you going to do about the front here? Because that's just an empty gap. Well, also in a thrift store, I found this, which is, I'm not entirely sure, like a spice rack, I guess. You know, you put the nail in there, you screw it to the wall, and you roll your spices down and, I don't know, pick them up out of here. I really don't know what this thing is. But the nice thing is, I took a measure tape with me. As you can see, this is also $3. Yeah, I took a tape measure with me, and this thing will fit perfectly into here. Let me show you. So this kind of idea, I mean, it's jutting out too far right now, but do you see the logic I'm working on? If I can cut this like here or something, and then slide it in. Basically, the premise is going to be it's going to sit like that, and then having this out front, I can put a control panel, you know, somewhere for quarters, etc., and put that in there. So that's the logic that I'm working on, is if I can reduce the size of this thing, that's what the Pong-esque arcade cabinet thing is going to look like. Now, I guess the big thing is I got to draw guiding lines, and I want to make sure this is not going to be too much of a cut. As this is a 70s style cabinet, we'll stick with inches for this. So it's about, what is that? 1.5 inches. Let me make that out. Yeah, 1.5 inches deep. So what I want to do then is draw on here 1.5 inches till we hit that curve. So it looks like roughly there is where I'm going to be making my cut. Now this curve here, I might actually be able to get the saw to make more of a squared off edge. I'm not sure. And obviously I can cut more away, so I might be a little bit liberal here and give it like there-ish. Let me do some measurements. All right, I've made a little mark there. I don't want this any further in than that, so I measured 1.5 inches to there. You can see the dark lines there, so I'm just going to draw a nice flat straight line. There's a cut mark, and now I'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, so yeah, that'll all be inside here, and whatever we don't like, we can always shave more progressively in this direction. So this is just like the outer maximum. Okay, well, let's start cutting. All right, now we've got the lines drawn. I've got a saw with me. What we're gonna do is just cut this off. I'm gonna try and make it look as nice as possible, and if it's just too big, then, you know, like, again, that's the plan, for it to go in like that. If it's not good on the first cut, we'll give it another cut and another cut until this thing sits flush in there that I like. So, let's start cutting. A bit tricky here. Let's try that. There we go. Right, now, so that is, so it doesn't quite fit, but I'll bet if I take that off somehow, in fact, it might just pry off. Let me try something. Okay, a piece of wood is cut, and we know it fits in here quite nicely. The problem is, this does not look like this for like shade of wood. It's obviously an add-on or a hack job. So I got myself some wood stain here. This is Varathane. I did as best of a color match between this thing and this color. It's not going to be 100%, but you know what? It's fine. If anything else, it'll look like it's a central console thing. So let's set this guy to the side and very carefully apply some stain to this guy and just basically paint it up and let it dry. Okay, I had this shaken up at the hardware store yesterday, so should be nicely ready to just apply with the paintbrush. Now I'm just going to apply it in an area that's not going to get seen much, just to see what it looks like here. How does it look there? Ooh, okay, well, it looks like I'm painting it anyway, or staining it anyway. Here we go. Oh, I'm quite happy with that. That looks like wood grain. And there's the finished product. I've left myself some grips back here because I'm going to just lie it down like that to dry. But honestly, I'm pretty happy with how that looks. I don't know if I need to even do a second coat. Yeah, that's I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, let's let it dry. Okay, well, I think that turned out pretty good. This is it dried several days later. I think that looks not bad at all. And if I bring in the actual cabinet here, it's a pretty close match. Again, it's not going to be 100%. Now, the big question is, with this slid in, first of all, is this going to scrape off bits as I try to get it into its position? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Doesn't that look convincing? Pretty happy with that. Yes, that has turned out very well. Not that anybody's going to see it underneath, but yeah, no, that looks good to me. Okay, so, and then again, can I pull this out? Yeah, okay, good. It's not going to have too much of a problem. So the next step is control panel. Basically, I've already drilled some holes. And the first step is I've got a little liner for a bath shower. Basically, this would be the thing if your shower door is sliding along the groove. That's what this is. And it's got a threaded screw in there. So the plan is to mount that there. I happen to have a screw of a longer length. The one that came in the pack was very small. A longer length screw, so basically I'm just going to by hand, because I've kind of given this a little preparation in advance. There we go. You can see the screws coming through. And I'm basically just going to, would that be the right way to do it, or would the other way? Oh yeah, no, it's got to be that way. Okay, so with the screw in place, I'm just going to thread that through there. I don't know if you can make that out. Yeah, there we go. See if we get the light in there in a way that works. Yeah. So that's going through the wood. Yeah, you can make out the end of the screw is there. That's working for me. Okay, so Not that anybody's actually, I mean, it's really just for looks, but, and I don't think that screw is going to impede the ability to slide this in place. Okay, so yeah, there is what it's going to look like. So you got this raised little paddle, and people will inevitably try to give it a turn and then discover you don't actually do that. But that's the easy part. The next part, I have one of two directions I could go with this here. One plan, I want to put something, I've got a thing for the front for the coin door. That's an easy one. That was last. What I want to do is either put like a metal plate here. Essentially, I want to have like, you know, player number 1 and the launch button. If you were assuming this was like a breakout machine, would that work? Is that going to do the business? See, that looks a little junky to me. I also got a little pack of these black, they're basically little jewels, a little bit like what I put on my Blade Runner gun. And I'm thinking either these, or I have another alternative. Let me just try this. Okay, now let's just, so yeah, you can see there are these little black jeweled gemmy things. Yeah, you see how it's reflecting on their edges and that? Either I take as a sample, oh, good Lord, like something like this, you know, put 2 of these on here, and this is just a rough guess here. Do like that type of thing? Maybe. I mean, I would glue it down, but I don't know. What do we think? That's one option. And you can see how the light, let's just see if I can get the light to glint off it in a way that, yeah, there you go. So there's edges to that thing. Does that look okay? Or I got another idea, maybe. Okay, so years ago, I got this out of a sports store. It's a white belt system. I had thought it would work well as a piece of something I could use for my X-Wing outfit. You know, the white belt that goes under the legs and, you know, around the hoops, etc. This was going to be maybe used for that. Didn't end up actually needing it, but I've still held on to it all these years. Now, what this thing comes with, though, is a black suspender holder, and you can see there's a raised button there. So part of me was thinking what I might do is cut that and, you know, probably facing that direction, but just for the sake of argument, do we like that more? How does that, imagine this is cut here by a knife. Like, that gives you a raised up button. Which one do I like more? So basically, this is option A. I would probably, again, it would be that direction, so it's going to look a little dopey for, like, that's going to be what's happening if you didn't see this in the way. Reverse your thought process here. Just imagine this is pointing 180 degrees the other direction. But just, do we like that idea? It does look like a button. Basically, then I would glue it in place, maybe stick a little label or something in there. I'm kind of liking that more so than this, because this looks a bit junky. Even if I could find a nicer piece of metal or something, that looks very worn and gross and disgusting. No, you know what? I'm going for it. I'm going for this. Where did it go? Yeah, I'm going to cut this off and apply it. I mean, I got to glue no matter what I'm going to do. I'm going to be gluing something in place. That looks about right. It's got a 70s look. It's only one button, but you know what? That's okay. I think I've decided. It's going to be the suspender little tab button thing is going in that spot. Okay. Decision made. Now I got to actually cut it and glue it all. So what I got to do then is free the little rubber stopper from the holding thing here. There we go. And I see that second little divot right there. So let's cut as straight as we possibly can here. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. You make it out? Yeah. Pretty happy with that. Now, do I want rounded corners? I thought so at first to make it, parallel. But then I just thought, well, it's probably, I think I'm going to put something in here, a little label, 25 cents for one play or something like that. I'm going to put a little something inside there, and that'll have square corners. So I think I'm actually just going to leave it this groovy Austin Powers shape here. But otherwise, pretty happy with it to look like that. Yeah. I think sort of that kind of idea, or maybe I will shave off a little bit more actually, because I want the button to be more like that. Or do I want to just leave it like that maybe? Can that still spin? Yeah. Ooh, you know what? I think I've just made an alteration to my plans. I think that would actually work. It'll hug underneath there and look like actually part of the control panel. Yes, that's what I'm actually going to do. I'm not going to bother with anything else. So I'm going to glue that in place just like that. And what glue am I going to use, you ask? I'm going to use this stuff, Lepage Super Glue. I like the fact that it's 3 individual little containers, so that way, because I always come back to like epoxy and stuff and it's all dried up. This will serve me well for the next few projects. So let's open this up. They've even got their own little caps individually. That'll work nicely. And we will just be using one of these because it's like barely half an inch worth that I need. So I don't need to open up an entire container of glue just to make this work. So basically we'll pierce that, apply a little bit, and slap it on there and pray. And now, even more carefully, apply, hold, and pray. That looks straight? Yes, it does. And it is seeping out a little bit, which is fine. I just don't want it to be too gloopy and goopy. Then again, this is just a little amateurish project of mine, so it doesn't have to look, I'm not going to be selling this or anything, so it doesn't have to look that fantastic. Okay, but I think that's going to hold. Now I'm just going to hold and press for a while to let it dry, so I'll be back in a sec. And I'll tell you another fringe benefit of doing it this way, shoved up against the paddle, is it's actually, can you make it out? It's actually going to hold the screw, the nut that's on the other side of here. That nut is actually going to be held in place because there is a permanent rubber thing pushed up against it. So that's actually turned out to be a good fringe benefit there. All right, got to let this sucker dry. Coming right along, nice and secure. That glue is going to hold. We got a little button now, which is kind of cool, and a spinner. Excellent. So this is coming along nicely. It's almost done. Just got last bit. You can see there's a couple of holes drilled in the front. What my plan is to make like a coin mech. I found on in that hardware store where I got the other parts, I found this thing, which is basically you would mount that onto a table or onto I guess a cabinet or something, and it would come in and lock in, and that little sort of dent there is to allow it to place. I don't know, can't remember what the exact thing was for. This I don't really need, but this, if turned the other way around, kind of looks like a coin mech. So I just figured if we line up the screws and either install it, what do you think? Would it look best that way with the lip down there, or this way so that it has kind of the lip on the upper part? That looks like a coin mech to me, like almost like where you would, put the quarters in. Do I like it more that way or do I like it more that way? I think I like it more that way. Okay, so let's screw that in place then. Okay, so there's the screw started. Let's just give that a good amount of securing into place. Actually, I can just let that hang while I get it in there. Good news is it's not like if the screws stick in too far it's going to cause any problems, because this thing's already down here. So I already know I have the clearance. I think that's going to look pretty good, you know. A good little coin mech. Sorry for all the rattling noise. Tighten this up. Ooh, yeah. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good to me. That looks pretty good to me. Again, it sort of gives the hint that that is a coin mech, I think. Especially whenever we put it all together. Make sure the screws are tight, and then I will, in fact, put it all together, including the iPod. And I think I have one more little bit of assembly that I'll need to do. Okay, so let's put this all together. That's the plan there. What do you think? Looks good. Looks very... The pieces look like they go together. I mean, I need to give that a bit more of a squish down there to cover up that, but yeah. And then essentially the iPod that I showed, there it is there, with Space Is Not Invading, will fit. Now let me just... So the plan is put the iPod inside here. It will lean inside like that. So there you go. There's the game playing. There's the front, and that's kind of what I had in mind there. And at a certain angle, you don't even see the game. Now, it's sort of very free to rattle around inside there. So I've got another idea for that as well. I've got this old black sort of fake leathery type leather material. And what I'm going to do is cut that up and just sort of wedge it behind the iPod. So let me just try that. Okay, let me get that out. So basically feed that into the back, down into that little crevice, and act as just a little cushion for the iPod to sit on, wedge into, and yeah, be a little bit more presentable. Just give it that little nice element here. So iPod in, like that. That looks pretty good, actually, yeah. And control panel up front. Possibly even see if I can maybe wedge that down. That material can go down just a hair. And then, there we go. And if I want, I can actually play. Now, you can't do anything with this. This is obviously just fake stuff and all that kind of thing. I think I still need to give it a little bit more. But yeah, if I want to play Pong, you can reach in and play it. Can I win? Does it go up to 11? Does it go up to 15? Or does it just keep going? It keeps going. All right. Very good. But I do like the attract mode. I think that'll catch the eye. I mean, it's not very even right now, but I'll fix that all that stuff up. I like the attract mode, and I like how it looks like an old 70s Pong machine. What do you think, huh? Yeah, very good. Good use of an old iPod, that's for sure. So again, I'm really happy with how this all turned out. I think I've got a nice little 70s style Pong machine to add to the crowd. And again, it's not playable with that, but anybody who does want to play, just reach in and you can move the ball around with your finger. So it is playable, like it still qualifies just as much as all the other items in my collection. You can really see that crack in the screen there though. But that's okay. You know what? For a throwaway, I mean, what's the alternative? I just throw the iPod Touch away? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to turn it into a little arcade machine. So next time I've got people over and all of the machines are all lined up and lit up like this, You can say, hey man, what's that groovy addition you've got on the far left there? Well, that's my Space Is Not Invading, a unique new machine that I created myself. Thought I would have a little fun with it, and I did. I'm going to leave it there, so until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.